There's one more song on this album called Dear Sahana. I'd love to talk a bit about this song.
It was just like 6, 7 of us in a room together just making music without
jamming.
any ego.
Have you ever fallen in love?
I don't necessarily believe in the idea of soulmates. Just as quiet as dawn, you crept up on me. Hey everyone, this is Sid Sriram here, and you are watching me on Radio City Freedom.
There's one more song on this album called Dear Sahana. I'd love to talk a bit about this song. It's a really beautiful track, and it's a groovy track, man. I love how it goes and how it blends into something else, and I love when the kid choir comes in at the end, and I know for a fact that those are your mom's students.
Yeah.
I just love how the kids come in and add energy to the song in the end. That's so beautiful, man. So let's talk a bit about this song. When you say Dear Sahana, and I read the lyrics and all, is it you're talking about your beloved, or who are you talking about, Sahana? In one of the interviews or blogs I read that by Sahana, you're mentioning your aunt. So how true is that? No?
Not at all.
No.
No. Sahana is not necessarily a real person. I think it's an idea of a love lost, perhaps, and that song is really about, as you get older or when you're younger, you might not value certain people that have come into your life, whether that be romantic or whatever the context is. Because we just move at this rapid pace when we're younger, and then as you grow older, you start to kind of understand the layers in which the world moves and the things that really matter to you. And that song is really about the understanding that you might have taken certain people for granted or certain loves for granted, and it's that moment of understanding, like, I strayed away from a path that could have been very fulfilling for me, and it's a song about that nostalgic kind of yearning, and also, it's a pretty, the mood of the song and the emotional kind of energy of it is quite happy. So it's the yearning, but then also, I guess, a sense of being at peace with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Have you ever fallen in love?
Yeah, of course.
In a partnerly way. I'm not saying in a brotherly way or a
No.
In a partnerly
Yeah,
way.
most
Have you
definitely.
fallen in love?
Yeah. I mean, partnerly or romantically, for sure. Sometimes it's been in terms of actual relationships. Other times you fall in love very quickly and it can be fleeting. I kind of feel like it happens a lot for me. Yeah, it's probably the most magical kind of part of life. But I've not yet found the person
Found
who
the one.
this is,
Again, do you believe in this idea of the one? Do you think that there's
I
one
think-
person for everyone in this world?
I don't know about that. I think that you do kind of, once you identify a person that feels like there's deep resonances across different kind of levels, right? Not just romantically, but also as I've gotten older, I've become a bit more pragmatic as well. So I think once that decision is made, that okay, this is my person, then they become the one. I don't necessarily believe in the idea of soulmates.
Soulmates and all. Yeah.
Because it's life is far too infinite.
Yeah.
But I do love the idea of committing to and dedicating oneself to one person and that person to, vice versa. And I think building a relationship in that way is so beautiful and one of the most fulfilling aspects of the human experience, so yeah. But soulmates, the idea of soulmates sounds like something that's been sold to us as a way to sell Valentine's Day cards. So.
It's idea sold to us by the advertising world.
Yeah.
Couple of lines, Dear Sahana, could you sing a couple
Sure.
of lines for our audience?
Just as quiet as dawn, you crept up on me. I felt strangely in love, frail heart still there, terrified of the ways you make me feel. Won't you let me in? Eyes weary, full of light. For you I put my fears aside. Yeah. Just as quiet as dawn, you left in the early morning. I'm back again. Won't you please let me in?
I might need a minute after that. My hand is melted right now. All right, let's delve into your creative process a bit. Tell our audience about how you derive inspiration, or do you look out for muses, or you just turn your life experiences into your music? How do you go about the entire process of creation and gaining inspiration from somewhere?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in like subconscious, intuitive creating. You know, we're constantly inputting information. It could be anything from like I was driving to the airport this morning and
Normal day-to-day routine.
yeah, or it can be like stuff that is beyond the mundane as well. You know, it could be anything. We're just always taking in information, especially in this day and age with the internet, and there's a lot that we digest, and that goes and kind of makes its way into one's subconscious. And for me, the way I create is, or my favorite way of creating, and it doesn't always happen, but when you really channel, you turn the mind off and you kind of tap into something that feels like it's the divine, and then music comes out of you, you know, and that's when I've created things that feel the most powerful and the most honest. And really, this whole album was made with that spirit. I was actually about to stop working on original English language music altogether. This was maybe around like 2021, tail end of the pandemic. And because I was just hitting roadblocks both creatively and professionally with that specific part of my career. And then very serendipitously, I connected with the producer. His name is Ryan Olson from Minneapolis, and took the trip out there with zero expectations, you know. And those initial 3 days I spent over there just really changed my life, and it felt like this super powerful creative wave just kind of crashed into us. And the whole process of making this album was channeling. I didn't think at all. It was just sitting down, clearing my head, making sure my mind wasn't getting in the way, and some way, somehow, for every song, for every moment of every song, the energy just really kind of like came, and I was just a vessel, you know, in such a way that I didn't even make sense of what a lot of the songs meant until afterwards. We finished it, and we finished the whole album. It's 13 songs in about 8 months. So it was a very fast kind of process, and I've never made music that quickly. But that really was how we made this album. And like I said, it's my favorite way of creating, because I'm a big believer in just like the necessity for spiritual energy in creative practices, you know, and when you get yourself out of the way and your ego out of the way and all these misconceptions or like constructs that we've set for ourselves through thinking in the brain, once that all gets pulled out, you're left with what I believe is the spirit. And when music comes from that space, something magical happens.
That's the truest form of art. Yeah,
for sure.
No, definitely, man. Yeah. While we're at it, do you believe in the idea of God or higher power?
100%. Yeah, I mean, I already said this, but I come from a discipline of Carnatic music, and that music is very much based in uh, various Hindu texts or like derived from questions. You know, I think a lot of my favorite compositions growing up, even now, but growing up, the things I always was drawn towards was the music that was asking questions, existential questions, and the yearning for a connection with God, you know, is the cornerstone of a lot of the Carnatic music that I sing. So I think that really became a second nature kind of aspect to how I thought about music as a whole. And then beyond just that, since as far back as I can remember, there have been moments in my life when I'd be practicing or performing or whatever, and you just like something comes over you, and they call it like the Holy Spirit in certain cultures or whatever. But you know, you just like your whole body is vibrating in a way, and you transcend.
Definitely.
And at the moments when I was younger, when that would happen, I couldn't necessarily like articulate what that is. But as I've gotten older and really kind of formed a deeper and deeper connection with my own spirituality, the only way I can kind of explain that is the existence of a higher power, for sure. So yeah, I'm a believer, most definitely.
Definitely, man. I mean, being a creator myself, I mean, I make music too. I believe when I said to make music, and when I'm really in my zone, I believe there's a higher power that takes over me, and that power does the job. It's not me anymore doing the job. That power is just doing the job. And end of the day, I'm just struck by, oh, who is this? I mean, how did this come out? So in the process of Siddharth, did this happen to you on any song that you're making this song entire day, and end of the day you're just awestruck, man, how did this come out of me?
Every single song.
Every song.
From the very first day we started making this music. So I went to Minneapolis, like I said, with zero expectations, kind of like I almost went there cautiously. Like I'd never been to that part of the country before. I was with people I'd never met before, and from when we first started jamming, it was just like this deep flow state, you know, where we made 30 song ideas over those 3 days.
3 days, 30 ideas.
And a lot of the melodies or like the overall like song structures were pretty well fleshed out in those 3 days, where a song like Quiet Storm, the whole melodic structure, which is very kind of asymmetrical and non-traditional, that was all from one full jam from one of those days. Ryan, I remember at the end of the third day, he kind of laid out what he thought that the order of the album would be in terms of songs and track listing, and what he had put down at the end of that third day on that Sunday night is more or less what the album order was at the end of the whole process. And so from the source point, it was very much like, oh, something is moving through us, something is moving through me, and it's my job just to not get in the way and let it kind of do that. And then every day I would so after that first trip to Minneapolis, I went back to California, where I was staying with my parents at the time, and every day I would wake up and just go into those initial recordings and excavate pieces of it that felt really important, and write, especially not just melodically and such, but lyrically as well. It's stuff that I'd go back to it once at the end of the day or at the end of a week and be like, oh wow, this just came out, you know? And yeah, I music and the ability to create is a gift.
It's a gift, definitely.
You know, and this whole process was a gift. It really, like I said, it was a creative wave that just kind of came from this deeply divine space, and we just tapped in.
And you sort of have to put aside your egos also for that force to, let take place through you. So I think that's a beautiful process, man. Like, for the longest time, I was just uncomfortable with myself that what is happening to me. But then I talked to other musicians and other creators, and I got to know, oh, it's the same with everyone. I mean, it's happening to a lot of people. So maybe that's how it is. That's how it's supposed to happen. I'm sure this album is going to do wonders. It's really great. And all my friends and all the people in the music circuit here in India are loving it, at least in the indie scene.
Great.
They are really looking forward for your performances that are lined up.
Yep.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, Sid Sriram, and like he says, all love, no hate. Cheers,
Always.
man.
Thank
Cheers,
you,
cheers.
man.